Have you ever looked at what you're actually doing during the course of the day? And have you really taken into consideration what your level of productivity is as a solopreneur, a freelancer, a coach, small business owner? If not, that's what today's question is going to be focused on. What is your business or your biz productivity style? I'm Dr. Yam, your Keep It Simple coach. Let's get busy on Biz Tip Tuesday. Hey there, everyone. This is Dr. Yam, your Keep It Simple coach. And today it's Biz Tip Tuesday. So welcome, everyone. For those of you who are new subscribers, welcome, welcome, welcome. New members inside of the Content Creation Tips and More Facebook group, welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you're following me on my Facebook page, Keep It Simple Coach Biz, or on side of my YouTube channel, another welcome. So let's get right into the idea. I use the phrase "let's get busy" in the sense of BIZY, because it's about taking action and being engaged in your business and how you can apply content marketing strategies in order to do that. Now, that being said, when we think about content marketing and all the other steps that you take as a business owner, there are lots of tasks and things that I'm sure that you are engaged on a daily basis. So, one of the things that's important to realize is that all of the things that we think about content marketing, right, and creating content for your intended audience, whether it's your social media, your website, email automations, your visual creatives, your podcast, your blogging, or in any of those things, in addition to, right? In addition to how you are engaging on all those levels, how you're engaging in being productive so that you can have a profitable business. And so profitability is there's a correlation to your level of productivity and how that correlates to your profitability. And so when we think about working smarter and not harder, these are some of the things that we want to take into account. And so today, what I thought I would do is to help you to recognize what that could look like for you and also for you to do a little self-assessment. So for those of you who are live in today's session, let me just double check here. Here we go. I'm going to pop up the inside of the chat, and you should have one maybe inside of the Facebook group, but I'm going to pop one here. So this is a link, pop it here. And there was also a link inside of the live chat description. You see a Google Doc. And so what you're able to do is click on that. It's a fillable PDF document. I want you to walk through this with me, listening and also identifying and figuring out which productivity style you may fall into. So if you're watching this live, great. If you're watching this as a recorded session, please share with me at the end which one of these productivity styles best resonates with you. So let me just checking on my notes. So here, when we think about, productivity in business is not simply doing something for the sake of doing it, right? We're talking about that you want to be able to do the right things at the right time to achieve maximum efficiency for all that effort that you're putting forward, right? And so, believe it or not, efficiency is sometimes about doing nothing at all. Yes, you can give yourself permission not to do anything. Taking a break is a part of your productivity, right? Recharging your batteries, a part of being productive, right? That mental preparedness for what's going to come next. You have to have those kind of breaks in between. And so the real key in doing all this is just kind of remembering that each one of us has unique needs. And when it comes to maximizing those efficiencies for that level of productivity, how can you be optimal in those levels of productivity? We're all different. Your working habits are not the same as mine, not that they're better or less important than what I'm doing, but we all are doing one thing in common, and that is we're striving for a goal. And that goal, in most cases, one would hope, is that how is it that you can accomplish more with less time? And then how do you get that to a form of reality? So, in a recent newsletter that I sent out, for those of you who subscribe and are part of the Keep It Simple Coach community, um, in a recent correspondence that I did in my last memo, I talked about the fact that there are these 7 kind of steps or components when it comes to being the foundation of how you can get through your work week. And so you can check that out. But I do want to kind of step into one in particular because we're getting ready to head into our halfway mid-year point, right? We're getting ready to go into July, the 7th month of the year. That means that we've got this month and the remainder of the year is 6 more months, right? So you want to look back at your last 6 months and figure out what the heck did I do? What did I accomplish? What goals? What did I get accomplished, right? You want to be able to kind of reflect on that. I think I've done quite a bit actually myself personally. So give yourselves some thumbs ups, pats on the back. I'm sure that each one of you have accomplished some quick wins, some long wins, and give yourself credit. This is not about saying, recognizing what you missed, but you certainly want to look at what I did accomplish. Was it getting you closer to your goal ultimately, right? We had some big year goals, then we have our short incremental goals. So you want to be mindful of that. Let me just double check. I see. There we go. Hold on. Okay. So you can feel free to put your comments here inside of the group. You're able to do that as well. Ooh, I got a little ant on my desk. Okay, sorry about that. So we have that. So keep that in mind. But let's go back. So when I think about those 7 steps, the first thing that you want to really kind of be mindful of or aware of is knowing your productivity type, right? You may have even, and some of you may have also done some personality assessments over time, and you have some ability to figure out, how do I work best myself and with other people and my personality and how it works with the personalities in my home, let alone in the workspace and as teams, if you're working in small business teams. But for most of us as solopreneurs, sometimes, it's just us. But again, we have the opportunity, even when we're working with our customers, what all that could look like. Now, that being said, so each step in that process, for those 7 identifiers of knowing what your productivity is, discovering what your peak energy times are, we're going to look a little bit about that as well. Giving yourself that management time is how there's a strategy for how you can do that. Making friends with your calendar is another one. For some of us, we kind of we try to avoid the calendar, but it could be your best friend. Batching your task and theming for the week, possibly, if that's another strategy. And then scheduling your downtime, again, giving you those opportunities to take breaks or making you just as productive when you're not doing anything, right? And then reviewing and reconsidering and reworking those tasks themselves. So each one is going to be essential in how you're able to move forward rather than just managing time by the length of the items that you're doing on your to-do list. I am a checker offer, so I do admit that because I just feel as though when I write things down, I'm able to give a bit more focus to the things that are important to me and getting things accomplished. So we have that. Okay. Making sure something's on my screen. Okay. There we go. All right. So how does this happen, you might ask? And the thing about being your productivity style and how you can get all this to happen is that you need to learn to make some small tweaks in your work habits, right, to improve your mood and your productivity at the same time. And we're going to focus on what that could look like so that your work habits can, for certain tasks during certain hours of the day, where you can even be more productive as well. Some of you know, like I'm a night owl, so you're not going to find me being very productive in the early mornings of the day. I'll be there for you, but I might not be my best self at times. And so those are the things you kind of want to be able to look into. So take the time to learn the ins and outs of each one of the components, as I noted, and then you can take your business and your career further than you might have even considered possible. So when we think about knowing your productivity type, right? Are you the type that's going to be task driven and you cannot stand to see unchecked boxes on your to-do list when the day is done? Or maybe you're more driven by deadlines and you can't seem to maybe start anything that has a hard deadline is kind of looming in your projects or in your tasks that you're doing. So knowing your productivity type can also help you in how you can prioritize your work at the same time. So I've put a worksheet here inside of the sheet on time. So let me make sure you see that. I put it in the chat. It's a Google Doc. So you'll find it there. I'm seeing if it's going to let me post it. Cannot post in some destinations. So we'll see how that works. Okay. So yeah. So I put it inside of the Google form, it's a Google Doc. You can click on it. It'll be uploaded later inside of the group as a file inside of our guide. So you'll see it there as a file for you to access. But simply click on the link and it's a shared file and then you can follow along with me. In fact, let me show you what the file looks like. I'm going to do a quick share here on my screen for you guys. There you go. So it will open up and look something like this, right? And as I go through each one of the descriptors, you can decide, check off the ones that, which are the behaviors that you say like, yeah, that's me. I do this and I do that. You can check these off. So these are little check boxes. So you can simply just, hold on, I'm sorry. I'm in edit mode here in my thing. My bad, hold on. But these are check boxes. I don't think I can do it now that I'm in the save mode. Hold on. Yeah. So you can check off the boxes that make sense for you. Just click on them, all right? And uncheck them if they don't make sense for you. And then at the very bottom, once we're all done, the one that has the most checked off is going to be your particular profile. And I'm going to tell you which one that is a little later in this session. So stay tuned and stay connected. All right, so we're good with that. So I'm going to stop sharing there. All right. So what could be your productivity style? Well, let's take a look. There's 4 different styles that you may find yourself being a predominant style for yourself. So the first one is what we would consider to be a prioritizer. So this is a person you prefer to stick to the facts. You like your data, you like logistics, you are exceptional when it comes to kind of critical thinking, and you're very focused on your task, and you don't invest a lot of attention to determining how the task gets accomplished, right? So what that implies is that while you have exceptional skills at prioritizing your task, you're pretty what we call like uber efficient, right? And that you're able to get your deadlines met because they're part of what you're doing as a priority, right? You're able to also make decisions really quickly. It doesn't require that you need to have a lot of either thoughts or you have to seek out other people's opinions. I mean, you certainly want to do that, don't get me wrong, but you're able to make a decision and move on very easily. And you also kind of prefer to work alone, and that's okay. But on the flip side, right, you may have some pet peeves. Some of them might be that you may daydream, you may don't particularly care for idle gossip. You definitely don't like to have anything missing when it comes to data, right? Inefficient use of time. So people that are wasting time, that kind of annoys you, right? When people don't give you clear instructions, they give you vague ones, then again, that's another thing that kind of might tick you off. And you're not really into conversations if you're in those worker type settings where, what we call the water cooler conversations. So that may not be you. So as a prioritizer, you're an exceptional worker, you're an exceptional business owner, and you don't necessarily want to be in charge of a team. You'd rather just be the one that kind of like, here, give me the directions, I'll get it done, and it can even break it down for you. So prioritizers work well alone, can benefit from maybe hiring a business coach to help you map out that business plan and get your goals accomplished. And one of those goals may be to set and prioritize and get focused on smaller tasks that could lead to better accomplishing your goals themselves. So that's an opportunity. So as you're checking off your box, you might find that to hold true. Now, if you are a detailed thinker who is always organized, right, and that you thrive on very detailed plans, your list, your orders, you're well aware of your deadlines, you're always making to-do lists, and to make sure that things get done by the end of your workday, right? So planners usually aren't too spontaneous, right? So they're not going to be maybe the bubbly person in the room necessarily, and that you may be that. So typically people who are on the planner sides and you're not spontaneous usually struggle with creativity. You may not be that creative person and they're thinking outside the box. That probably may not be you. Not that it's a bad thing. It's just one of the descriptors of who you are. Nothing bad about it, right? And so you may find it difficult to contribute to the teams, or inside of either yourself as a small team or when you're engaging with clients in the groupthink, because they need to have a little bit more time to think about a topic in depth as what you're looking to do, and that before you can contribute to those ideas, being that spontaneity. Sometimes we used to do in my work settings, we used to do basically brain dumps, like give me anything, just pop it out, give us any ideas that you have. We're just going to capture them. No idea is a bad idea. And you could just kind of, whatever comes to the top of mind, and we could capture it, and then we'll start to do some process of elimination. But planners typically have a difficult time in that type of level of engagement. We certainly want to, bring people in, obviously, but they probably would just rather just watch, or at least wait until the end, and then they was like, okay, I've had more time to think. So spontaneity isn't your thing. So once you do figure out, that you may have also that use that peak energy, which we'll talk about in a little bit, you can maximize that use of your time and be able to use those hours to get those things done at the same time. So you know exactly where you're coming from or what you're working for, and you'll also feel empowered to take advantage of your peak work hours. So again, in a team setting, maybe not. You're the planner whose key is to finishing the project on time, and so you're kind of like the gatekeeper, right? So you're going to make sure that the work schedule is done, everybody is being held accountable, and making sure those tasks get done. So when you're outsourcing to your virtual assistants, you are able to ensure that things are going to get done, and you're going to be that person who's going to follow up with them on a routine basis, and you're comfortable with that. So that's what a planner personality, productivity personality style may be. Is that you? Check those items off. Now, another productivity style or identity is if you are a person who thrives on working in groups. You really enjoy managing meetings and creating and selling your ideas. You have a problem in the world pitching an idea off the top of your head with somebody else. It's like, hey, I got this great idea, right? And you're typically that bubbly personality and would cringe at the idea of working alone. Like that, you feed off of other people. And so, even though you could still be a solopreneur, you're probably more engaged in how you work with other individuals, be it virtual assistants or even your customers, for that matter. And also just the type of work that you enjoy doing is going to put you in that posture. So you need that personal interaction, and that's how you're going to be able to thrive in those group settings and the dynamics. But you're also very thoughtful, and you encourage others to do good and helping them excel in their work and getting things done. However, as that what we call the arranger, then you can easily get distracted in the chit chat, struggling to stay focused on task, right? So implementing a task management type of a technique like the Pomodoro, I shared this in the group earlier, that is probably going to help you a lot to kind of really say, okay, let me do these little short spurts of task and feel like I'm getting things accomplished and I'm not disappointing any of my other team members or my customers, and I'm able to stay on track. So time management strategies and techniques probably be something that you might want to take advantage of. Um, I think too, when we think about people in the arranger category, um, you want to have that person, but they can, when things are going awry, right, they can really take control of a group or a situation and get people back on task. And so they kind of be the cheerleader, right, and encouraging the team. So being a leading a community of people is going to be good, and having that real positive energy coming into the project or into a dynamic is really going to be helpful. So those are people, again, arrangers who work in solo, but they would rely on social media for yourselves, right? So be that personal interaction. So you're probably really comfortable in social media platforms as a solopreneur, type of a business owner, despite the fact that you have this bubbly personality, and that's what's going to be able to come through for you. So you can benefit from those kind of shared workspaces and working, even just taking and working inside maybe a coffee house for the day, because again, you have that sense of commune with other people and that kind of hum in the background. And so you thrive in those types of spaces. So you would be what we call an arranger. And then the last one, now you're going to be, this person is the one who really enjoys kind of juggling multiple projects at one time to maintain the interest that they have, because they could probably, you get bored easily. Are you the person that gets bored easily? So you are full of ideas and you're like to start projects, but may not finish them as you would like in the same level of exuberance, if you would, right? So you find being in a works office space that's probably very cluttered in both of your mind, but you love it. To other people, this looks like it might look like clutter, but you're like, no, I know exactly where my stuff is, right? Have you ever worked with people that have been in those types of situations, or are you that person? When you have your stacks and your piles at your desk, which I know exactly what my stacks and piles are, right? That's what we call a visualizer, right? So visualizers, again, those are those creative thinkers who are spontaneous, right? So they can easily switch gears from one project, and they welcome the challenge to another one, because again, they don't want to be bored. That's their way of not being bored, right? So visualizers also can see big picture, and they tend to also focus on end results and are kind of opposed to the smaller tasks that can't lead to a bigger result, if you would. And also, so when you think about working in a team dynamic, if you're in a small business team, right, that visualizer who is the one who can take a task kind of a little off the grid, if you would. And they have some really, really good ideas and can really even enhance a project, and is quick to mention ideas in a meeting, but may not be the right time for it. So again, there's a rhyme and a reason for everything. I sometimes fall into this category along with the arranger. So I'm a good mix, right? I come up with really good ideas. I like to write them down. I like being in a group thing, but at the same time, I like being by myself too. So, and I like to analyze data. So it kind of just depends. I'm very situational in that way. But for visualizers, these individuals that I'm speaking about who work solo, right? Then they batching their task and having themed weeks can probably help you maintain that focus without getting bored and with the scenery, be it in your office. And like I said, you probably would enjoy too being in that cafe every now and again just to have that little break in monotony and not having the same place all the time. Although all your stacked folders aren't going to be there, but that's another for another other. But again, when you better understand your productivity types, then you can use the different tools that's going to be able to maximize it. So think about that as you pursue your work going into the next stage of the year. So given that those type of descriptors, I want you to think about. I'm going to go back here to, okay, I'm going to go back here. Just check out the, where's my share screen? Here we go. So based on what I've kind of expressed or shared with you guys, idea-wise, I want you to check off which of the indicators, as you see them here, are best describe you, right? Do you like facts, data, and logistics? You're not spontaneous, or you love working in groups, or are you the person that is full of ideas and energy? Which one of those would you think? And just kind of go through each one and check off the ones that you feel best describes who you are, right? And that way you will come down here. Now, once you come down here to the bottom, you will find that if you're one of the three, around four, you know what, the majority, whichever one that you have the most checked off is the one that you're probably is your dominant style. You could have a combination of two, so that's okay, right? So we'll start at the bottom. So the first one, let me make sure I get my notes right for you guys. Okay, so your first one is going to be, you are the prioritizer. So I'm going to fill in the blank for you. Let me sit on the screen here. There we go. So the first one here is going to be, make sure, I want to make sure my notes are, I said the right ones. Okay, so the first one, first in the column here is going to be prioritizer. The second one, if you checked off all the boxes, then you are the planner. And then if you checked off all the columns in column 3, you are an arranger. And last but not least, if you have more boxes checked off in column 4, you are a visualizer. Hold on a second at this. You are a visualizer. So share in the comments below the video once you've done your worksheet and let me know which of the 4 do you think you are. And again, lean into your strengths. I recognize what your weak areas are so that you can be more productive as you enter into the next remaining part of the fiscal year for your business. And so here's the thing to think about. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. One of the things too to be mindful of now that you know about your levels of productivity, as far as the type of productivity person that you are, is how can you discover what your peak time is? So why are peak times important? And why is it that you want to recognize what those are? And certainly, like I said, I'm not a morning person. So you always have to think about the fact that the primary mission, right, that you have as a business owner is that you want to improve your productivity when it comes to your work so that you can identify, right, when you know what your your level of productivity is and where it's stored, then you have a better sense of figuring out what hours should you be identifying as your peak performance hours, and then those hours that are your weak performance hours so that you can use them both wisely. Now, notice I said both because even in those times when I may not be at my highest point, you want to try to produce peak performance hour during those that energy levels when they're high, and then the things that you are when you're low, you do things that don't require as much, right? So you can divide your attention into doing things that can go with the current versus going against the current, as I like to say. So you just need to make a little progress each and every day, and then you can find out your levels of either being you don't want to get exhausted or you don't want to get frustrated at all. So that's one of the things to think about. So how do you identify what your peak and your valleys are when it comes to your energy, right? So the first thing you want to understand about your peak energy, again, for that time of day, is just observing yourself as you go along your own regular day. What time of the day are you feeling more creative? Are you feeling more energized? Are you ready to go, right? Again, me, about 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night is when I'm like, okay, I'm good. Now I'm starting to jive and I can really start cranking. Not to say the rest of my day is bad. It's really isn't. It's just early mornings is not my thing, right? So, like I mentioned, so some of the things that I mentioned inside of the different personality types, right? Those people who are those bubblier people probably are bubblier in the early mornings than they are at night, right? So there's all of those different nuances that you want to think about. But paying attention to the times of day is going to help you in how you can plan your day better. So I wouldn't put important meetings or important creative tasks that you know you want to give a lot of attention to. I wouldn't be putting them in my low peak hours, my valley time. I wouldn't be putting my task there if I'm going to schedule my day and my task. I wouldn't do that. Now, again, sometimes our customers, right, and our project needs do have some influence into how we can make the most of our time. So we always want to be mindful of that. So just keep those things in mind. But giving yourself that permission, right, of making sure that I know my limitations. And so if you want the best out of me, then I want to make sure you are aware so that you can capitalize on it from a peak performance versus being on the valley side. You don't want my valley time, right? So here again, schedule your task according to your priority. So you have things that you want to have as a quick win. So the tasks that are going to be high impact and low effort to complete are your quick wins, is your quick win window, right? The easy wins. So what are the things that I know I want to get accomplished that don't take me long to do? I could do it like with the back of my head, right? You can focus less effort on when you're able to do that. That's your quick win window, right? High impact, low effort. Major projects, on the other hand, right? That means that these are going to be projects that are going to be high impact and also going to need a high level of energy from you to get things done, right? So you probably want to schedule that in your peak time, right? Not in the not so peaky time. Now, your fill-ins task, right? These are going to be things that are low impact and low effort to complete, right? So those are things that either you're going to delegate. Remember, you still have the power of delegating. You don't have to do this work yourself. And that is not really a money maker, right? Because remember, when we think about our business as solopreneurs and freelancers, there are tasks that you're going to do that are money makers, and then there are tasks that aren't. And the tasks that aren't money makers are those tasks that you could be delegating to a virtual assistant so that you can focus on money making tasks. So think about that. So those are your fill-ins. You want to keep those in mind. And then those thankless tasks, I like to call them, again, tasks that are going to be low impact but high effort. This could be, depending on your, again, if you don't delegate it out. You have to do it because nobody else can do it, but it's certainly not something you enjoy doing. Those are the tasks that you avoid most of the time, but they are necessary in getting your business doing. But again, can you delegate it, or can you start to teach somebody so you don't have to feel like it's an angst to you? Those are those kind of thankless tasks. And again, high impact, low impact, high effort. So how could you chunk these pieces of information in place and using your peak time and your valley time to make all of those happen? So those are the things you want to do when it thinks about the energy and the type of person that you are. So those, my friends, are some of the things that you can think about when you're considering your oops, sorry. I just lost my screen. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, we're good there. All right. So there, my friends, are opportunities where you can tap into your productivity style. How can you look at your times of your peak energy and how you can consider planning for those times and being more productive using your power of your style and the different times of the day where you are going to be able to benefit from them. So again, let me know as you do your worksheet this week how that works out for you. And then you'll have an opportunity to optimize. Again, we're going into the new fiscal year, half of the fiscal year. You want to start to really think about, okay, what did I accomplish? Check off the things. What didn't I accomplish? What do I need to move over and reprioritize some things? Sometimes we do. Give yourself permission. Everything didn't get done, right? So what didn't get done, again, how do I reprioritize them based on what my needs are, based on how productive I've been, based on the profitability? Were there things that you thought were more profitable that you didn't think were going to be more profitable? That could be a driving factor for you. You may find that the project that you completed was more profitable than you ever thought. And so that's going to help to recalibrate some things for you, right? That's how I think of it. You just never know what surprises are going to come out when you allow things to happen and allow for the universe, if you would, to kind of do its thing. And so, yeah, we always make plans, but sometimes the best laid plans are not the ones that get to the finish line. You may have had some opportunities that weren't a part of your plan that showed up for you, and you had an opportunity to engage in that, and that allowed you to see um, more inside of you and in your business that allows you to go forward. So those are the things that you always want to be mindful of and allowing yourself to make the necessary shifts. So this is that pivot window. Again, remember, we pivoted coming into the fiscal year. We're at the midway point. Allow yourself to self-assess and to figure out whether or not you need to do the same at this point in the fiscal year. So that being said, if you haven't already done so, please head on over to smallbizsociety.com, and that is our community of solopreneurs, freelancers, and coaches, small biz owners who want to learn more about content marketing strategies that they could use to grow their business organically, as well, maybe with a little bit of moolah, but not a lot. But again, that's where I give my tips and tools on a consistent basis. And we're also a community where you're going to be able to contribute and learn from each other. And so, and you can also visit my website, keepitsimplecoach.info. And again, if you're not at that level yet, you haven't launched your biz idea, but you know you got a good one, then come on over to the Busy 9-to-5ers Hive. And there is where you can learn to start your business getting organized. And there's a starter kit over there for you, as well as the masterclass that we have to jumpstart your small business idea. So head on over to that space. Until next time, this is Dr. Yam, your Keep It Simple coach. Please make sure that you leave your comments and your questions below for those of you who are watching this as a recording. And until next time, let's get busy. Take care. Bye-bye.